Most people imagine spiritual awakening as the grand finale, the final stop on a sacred path. But what if it's not the end at all? What if it's just the threshold? You've stepped beyond the illusions most people live in, and in doing so, you've crossed into a reality that few ever touch. That moment of awakening, so intense, so liberating, feels like the destination. But the truth is, it's the doorway. And the real story begins once you've walked through it. This is the part no one really talks about. The part where the highs settle, the visions fade, and the world stops glowing with that magical sheen. You're not waking up anymore. You're already awake. And now comes the strange, silent stretch of transformation that follows. It's not flashy. It's not dramatic. It's raw. It's real. You begin to realize that everything leading up to that point was only preparation. The searching, the seeking, the questioning. It was all a build-up to this moment of clarity. And now that you've found it, life demands something more: integration. This new phase doesn't bring the chaos of discovery. It brings the challenge of embodiment. Living your truth without needing to explain it. Holding peace when no one around you sees what's changed. Navigating the ordinary with a mind that now sees the extraordinary. You're not on a path to awakening anymore. That chapter is done. Now it's about becoming. And that, in its own quiet way, is where the most mysterious and powerful transformations begin. You expect the momentum to continue. After everything, the visions, the breakthroughs, the emotional tidal waves, surely the ride isn't over, right? But then something odd happens. The silence. The inner noise vanishes. The outer world feels strangely still. It's not that you've lost connection. It's that the connection no longer needs to shout. At first, the stillness feels like absence. You wonder where the energy went, why the urgency is gone, why your days feel so quiet compared to the chaos that cracked you open. But that quiet is not emptiness, it's presence. This is the space where everything starts to settle. Your nervous system, once overloaded with revelation, begins to breathe again. The fire cools, the dust lands, and what's left is not dullness, it's clarity. It can feel disorienting. You might think you've taken a step back or lost something important. But this phase isn't regression, it's integration. It's your spirit stabilizing in its new rhythm. The storm had a purpose. It shook you out of a life that no longer fit. It brought truth to the surface. But storms don't last forever. They pass so that new ground can form. And now you're standing on that ground, learning to walk with different legs. You're no longer fueled by the chase or the thrill. Now you're guided by alignment. The drama fades, and what emerges is the strength to sit in stillness without craving chaos. You begin to recognize that peace doesn't have to be exciting to be profound. It just is. This is the calm after the storm. And it's not the end of the story. It's where you begin to write a new one, with both feet planted, eyes open, and your whole being tuned to something deeper than noise. After a spiritual awakening, the soul feels unchained, lighter, wiser, limitless. But the body, it's still catching up. That's where things get weird. You might wake up one day bursting with energy, ready to move mountains. The next, you can barely get out of bed. It's not random. Your body is recalibrating itself piece by piece to match what your spirit now knows. Think of it like a system update, only slower and less predictable. Suddenly your appetite changes. Foods you once craved feel heavy. Sleep patterns twist and turn. Your skin might glow one week, then break out the next. Even your posture can shift, as if your body is learning how to carry a new version of you. Old aches might return. Emotions you thought you'd buried resurface with no warning. It's easy to think something's wrong, but nothing's broken. This is release. The body, unlike the soul, doesn't leap, it transitions. It's sorting through years of conditioning, stress, trauma, and memory. And now that your spirit has let go of those weights, the body begins to do the same in its own language, tension, fatigue, tears, clarity. Some days you'll feel electric, other days you'll need silence. Honor both, and don't be surprised if the shifts aren't just physical. You might find yourself crying without a trigger, laughing at nothing, or sensing energy in ways you never did before. It's not madness, it's movement. Your inner system syncing with your higher frequency. This is a full-body transformation, not just on the outside, but in your cells, your breath, your reflexes, your instincts. It's messy. It's real. It's necessary. You're not just awakening, you're becoming. And your body finally is stepping into the same light your spirit walked into long ago. Something unexpected happens after awakening. The people closest to you start to feel far away. Conversations that once flowed effortlessly now feel forced. Places you used to love seem strangely unfamiliar. It's like you've moved to a different frequency, and the world forgot to tune in with you. This disconnection can hit hard. You might feel lonely, confused, even betrayed. Why does it feel like everyone else is standing still while you've been pushed into motion? It's not rejection, it's resonance. When your inner world shifts, your outer world responds, not always gently. Relationships that once felt solid start to crack. The dynamics change. Some people pull back, others drift away, and it hurts, not because you don't love them, but because you no longer align. It's natural to want to hold on, to try to explain yourself, to shrink back into who you were so things don't feel so strange. But here's the thing. Evolution rarely comes with approval. The universe isn't punishing you, it's clearing the stage, making space for new connections that meet you where you are, not where you used to be. And the beauty is, those people start to show up. Out of nowhere, you meet someone who just gets you. No long explanations, no backstory needed. They recognize the version of you that you're still learning to understand. It's not magic, it's alignment. A deeper kind of magnetism pulling the right souls into your orbit. Yes, it's isolating at first. You'll question yourself. You'll grieve the loss of bonds that once felt unbreakable. But eventually you realize you're not actually alone. You're just in the in-between. Between who you were and who you're becoming. Between the life that shaped you and the one that's waiting. And that space, it's sacred. Because it's where truth finds you, and where your true tribe begins to gather. At first it was everywhere, 11:11 on clocks, feathers on sidewalks, songs playing at the perfect moment. The universe felt like it was whispering directly to you, all day, every day. And then, almost without warning, the whispers stopped. No more vivid signs, no more divine nudges, just quiet. It can feel disorienting, even disappointing. You wonder if you've taken a wrong turn, lost your connection, fallen out of alignment. But what if the silence is a message in itself? When we're just waking up, the universe often speaks loudly to catch our attention. It sends signs, patterns, synchronicities, external proof that something sacred is happening. But over time, you stop needing the proof. Because the knowing has taken root inside of you. The signs didn't vanish. You stopped relying on them. You don't need a shooting star to trust your path. You don't need numbers to validate your progress. You've become the confirmation you were always seeking. What once felt magical is now natural. The extraordinary has become your baseline. This isn't spiritual disconnect, it's spiritual maturity. A deeper kind of awareness where truth doesn't need to shout to be heard. It lives quietly in your choices, your presence, your peace. You've moved from seeker to sovereign. So when the synchronicities fade, don't panic. It means you've internalized the wisdom. The teacher is no longer outside of you. It's in your voice, your intuition, your stillness. The silence is not the absence of guidance. It's a sign that you no longer need to be guided like before. You're not following breadcrumbs anymore. You're walking with purpose. And that's the real magic. When the intensity of awakening fades, a strange question starts to echo. Now what? You've unraveled layers of illusion. You've faced yourself, cracked open your beliefs, and remembered who you are beneath it all. So, where do you go from here? This is the part few people talk about. Not the awakening, but the life that follows. And it doesn't come with fanfare. It begins with a quiet, persistent feeling that you're meant for something more. Not bigger, not better, just truer. Before, the purpose was inner work, healing, exploring, questioning everything. But now the inner revolution has settled, and from that silence, a new kind of purpose begins to take shape. One rooted in action, not seeking. You no longer feel the need to find meaning. You become the meaning. There's a shift in focus, from understanding the universe to expressing your place in it. From asking, "Who am I?" to simply being that answer in everything you do. It might look like helping others through their own transformations, or creating something that reflects the frequency you now live in, or simply choosing peace every day, even when chaos is an option. Your purpose doesn't need a title or a stage. It just needs your presence. This part of the journey is less about discovery and more about embodiment. You've gathered the tools, walked through the fire, and now it's time to live the truth you worked so hard to remember. There might still be uncertainty. There always is. But instead of fear, there's trust. Because you've learned that clarity doesn't come from control, it comes from alignment. And when you start walking in rhythm with your true self, life starts showing up to meet you. Not in flashes of magic, but in subtle, steady confirmations that you're exactly where you need to be. Your new purpose isn't something you chase, it's something you are. After awakening, the world doesn't just look different, it feels different. You walk into a room and pick up on something before anyone speaks. A glance, a silence, a shift in tone, and suddenly you're carrying energy that isn't yours. Crowded spaces feel loud even without noise. Certain people leave you drained without saying a word. What changed? Your sensitivity isn't broken, it's amplified. It's like someone turned up the volume on your nervous system. The filters you once relied on to block out subtle energies, gone. Now you're absorbing it all, the good, the bad, and the unspoken. And at first, it's exhausting. You may find yourself avoiding places you used to love, or needing more alone. Time, more rest, more space. Your body is reacting to frequencies it never used to notice. Your emotional radar is always on. But this isn't weakness, it's awareness. You're not just seeing the surface, you're sensing what lies beneath. This heightened sensitivity is part of the upgrade. It deepens your intuition. It sharpens your empathy. You begin to hear what people don't say, feel what they try to hide. And while that kind of clarity can be overwhelming, it's also powerful. With time, you learn to navigate it. You set boundaries, not to shut the world out, but to keep your center clear. You choose who and what you let into your energy field, not out of fear, but out of discernment. This phase isn't about numbing the sensitivity, it's about learning how to live with it, how to protect your peace without hardening your heart. Because once you understand that this sensitivity is a tool, not a burden, it becomes your greatest asset. It connects you to others on a level words can't reach. It helps you move through life with precision, clarity, and compassion. You're not too sensitive, you're just finally tuned in. Everything around you looks the same. Same streets, same people, same daily routines. But inside, nothing feels familiar. After the awakening, life doesn't explode into endless miracles. Instead, it quietly returns to what looks like normal. And that's where the real transformation hides. You go through your day, work, conversations, chores. From the outside, you blend in. But internally, everything feels altered. The world hasn't changed, but your perception of it has. Things that used to stir emotion now feel muted. Drama that once pulled you in now seems irrelevant. You're not numb. You're just no longer reacting from the same place. You've outgrown the need for chaos to feel alive. It's strange, this version of normal. It's calm, but not empty. Subtle, but profound. You catch yourself not spiraling where you once would. You choose stillness where you used to seek stimulation. And that shift? It's quiet, but it's powerful. There's a moment, maybe several, where you question if you're doing something wrong. Why doesn't life feel as intense anymore? Where's the fire? But the truth is, the fire's still there. It's just moved inward. It's stable, controlled. You're no longer chasing signs of growth. You are the growth. This new normal is misleading because it doesn't shout. It doesn't ask for attention. It simply is. And in that simplicity lies your strength. You've reached a point where your inner peace isn't dependent on external proof. You carry your alignment into every space, quietly shaping your world without needing recognition. This is the phase where mastery begins, not through performance, but presence. Life feels normal, yes, but you've never been more awake.